Hello, everyone. So, you know yourself, I've always said it in the past, always support Irish business as much as you humanly possibly can. And of course, support democracies. What I mean by that, countries in the West, particularly. We shouldn't be doing as much business because a lot of things we buy now are made in China and stuff. We shouldn't be doing that because we're basically supporting communism. We're supporting oppression of people under a communist dictatorship in China. And not to mention Chinese sweatshops and stuff where people get paid literally tuppence to produce goods, etc. Chinese sweatshops. And of course, the pollution and stuff. We talk about climate change. China is the biggest producer by a long shot, along with India. But it's the countries of the West who have to suffer for that. But I do agree to a certain extent with the European Union, and I think Ireland should do the same. For any patch goods, particularly coming from China or be coming from outside of Europe or the United States, should have a duty fee. What I mean by that, not too major unless it's something huge. But I do agree with this that we should probably put levies on it because it's absolutely insane the amount of goods that's coming in, take for example, to Ireland from China and all cheap knockoff stuff. And again, people are buying. We understand why people are buying it. It's all because they don't want to pay the price that take for example the are in Ireland. They go off on social media or onto different platforms online and buy it for cheaper. There's a lot more things you can get for cheaper online than you can in shops and stuff. But I've always been the person that always go and shop in my local shop as much as humanly possible because I'd rather talk to somebody and know what you're getting and see the objects and feel the objects so you know what you're buying compared to when you're going online and buying stuff. There's been many times people bought things in China and they didn't get what they wanted. There's many instances of that. But pretty much, as it says here, 91% of all goods coming in into the European Union are coming from China and from other places. And of course, we need to support Western democracies. We need to support countries of the West. Take for example, in Ireland, we should be buying more Finnish goods, or Norwegian goods, even too, or even French, German. Any goods at all, like Western countries. We support Western countries and Western values, countries that values freedom and democracy and Western democracy, because we have to support each other as countries of the West instead of supporting China, because China wouldn't be such a big powerhouse today if people from even back years ago wanted cheap knockoff stuff from China, cheap stuff done on the cheap. Companies wanted things done on the cheap, and that's what they went to China because they didn't want to pay people. That's the simple fact. It's all to do with money. But this is not coming in until about I think it's January or July or June next year. June the 1st. But I do agree with this. But I know some people would disagree, but I do agree with it because it would encourage people to spend their money more local, because that's what we want to see in Ireland. We want to see people support their local shops, the local clothes shops or whatever it may be. We want to see people buy local and support local because it's important, because the money that you're spending to give to China is not going to local people. It's going to the Communist Party of China. And why would you give it to them? But it's better to support local businesses because, in Ireland we have so many local businesses that are struggling to make ends meet, and it's important to give them the money. They deserve the money more than a Chinese sweatshop, take for example. But so that's I agree with that. Ireland should probably follow suit in terms of import charges, charge €10 or something like that for every item. Or if it's a small item, maybe €3, I'd say. But if it's a big item, €10 or something for each Chinese item. To support domestic products, we should support domestic, but not rely on other countries to give us stuff. Particularly, as I say, in China, we shouldn't rely on any country outside the European Union or outside the United States or Canada. We have to support Western values, and how we do that is buy Western and support Western and pay our money to Western companies instead of countries that don't exactly appreciate our values of the West and values that we all live by. But yeah, let me know what you think. But I've always said I've always been a big fan of supporting local. I never really, and even today, when I buy stuff, I always check to see what's on the back of the product, where it's made, because generally if I see it's made in China, I won't buy it. Simple as that. I would nearly say 98% of the time, I nearly wouldn't buy it if it was made in China. Wouldn't do it. Simple as that. Majority of the time, there's only about maybe 1.0% time I would buy something that's made in China. Very, very seldom do I want to buy them. I always avoid it as humanly possible. And I think everybody should. I think it should be a standard for the West that we should do that. Anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more. And what do you agree? Do you agree with this? Do you not? Some people say it's the European Union going on a power trip. But I do agree with it because we should be supporting other European countries with our values. Anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more. Bye.